Imagine this. You and your squad are deep in a snow-choked New York street. Sirens wail in the distance. A chopper circles overhead. And you've got contaminated Luke on your back. You know hunters are on your tail, and another squad is eyeing you from across the intersection. Do you fight? Do you avoid? Do you betray? This isn't Warzone. This isn't Fortnite. This is the Battle Royale that we never got. The Division. Rebuilt as the ultimate survival showdown. No flashy dances, not cartoon, but pure tension. PvP, PvE, and survival colliding in a world where every single bullet, every single ally, and every single betrayal matters. I'm not saying Ubisoft should have made the Division Battle Royale, but I want to ask you guys, if Ubisoft did make one, would you want it to lean more into like the tactical survival side, like the Dark Zone and Survival DLC, or go full on fast paced like Warzone? Let me know in the comments, because I want to see where the community stands on this. This is the Division Battle Royale we never got. What if Division had a Battle Royale mode? To understand what this mode could have been, we first need to rewind. The Division wasn't just another looter shooter, it had very specific DNA. The first game dropped us into a plague-ridden New York in the dead of winter. The snowstorms, the empty streets, and the desperation of a city on its knees. And for many players, The Division 1 still has one of the best atmospheres of any Ubisoft title. The city felt alive, it felt threatening. Every corner felt like it was hiding a story, or a bullet. The Division 2 then brought something different. Washington DC, summer, sunlight, overgrowth, but more importantly, refined combat. Cover-to-cover gunfights felt more fluid and a lot better, skills and gadgets mattered more, and enemies weren't just bullet sponges, well, mostly. And the build system gave players a reason to grind. Gear sets, exotics, crafting, tinkering. It turned firefights almost into tactical puzzles. And then you had the Dark Zone, a place where PvE and PvP collided, where you never knew if the guy next to you was a friend or was about to stab you in the back. The tension of waiting for that chopper whilst rogue agents circled, it was pure adrenaline. That DNA, the atmosphere, tactical combat, betrayal-driven multiplayer, is the foundation of a battle royale that Ubisoft never built. We're going to talk about why a battle royale could have made sense. In the late 2010s, it was the golden age of battle royales. Fortnite went from quirky side mode to pretty much a cultural juggernaut. PUBG gave players their first real taste of last man standing survival. And Call of Duty reinvented itself with Warzone. Ubisoft naturally wanted in. Enter Hyperscape, a flashy, vertical, futuristic BR that looked good, but it didn't really have an identity. It was almost confusing. The time to kill was all over the place, and it didn't stand out against the titans it was competing with. Less than 2 years after launch, servers went dark. But here's the frustrating part. Ubisoft already had a franchise that was perfectly suited for this genre. The Division was practically built to be a survival game, and a battle royale mode could have been included quite easily. You already had the scavenging, the looting, the paranoia, you could even include the crafting, and the Dark Zone was basically a prototype BR. Before PUBG even blew up, Ubisoft never just put the pieces together. So, let's kind of put those pieces together. Let's imagine what a true Division Battle Royale would actually look like. I'm thinking you don't drop in from a parachute, no cartoon buses like Fortnite, no crazy skydives. You're deployed. A helicopter brings you in and drops you and your squad into a quarantine sector of New York. It's foggy, snow is coming down like Division 1, and streets are filled with abandoned cars and barricades. The mood instantly is survival. Cinematic, but not spectacle. And instead of like a shrinking circle, the zone closes in through contamination. Almost viral outbreaks spread across the city and they make the blocks uninhabitable. You can't enter without a mask. It's slower, it's more natural, and it keeps that Division vibe of wearing a gas mask and watching your filters tick down as the city kind of turns itself against you. Looting would be grounded. No golden chests, no floating guns. You're kicking down doors, you're sweeping through apartments and raiding subways. Some loot is clean, some is contaminated, and like the Dark Zone, that contaminated loot could be special loot that needs to be extracted. Do you risk calling in a chopper mid-match to secure the loot, giving away your position, or do you hold on to the end when you extract? The PvPvE loot would be brutal. You'll still have the cleaners torching the streets, you'll still have some Rikers there, some hunters stalking the most geared agents. Including them in the Battle Royale could be limited time modes rather than just your standard Battle Royale. You could have a cleaner season, you could have the Rikers season, you could have the hunters included as a one-off game mode that grants a bonus during the match. Almost like Call of Duty did with Juggernauts. Fighting them is risky, but the rewards would be huge. And then you'd have the end game. Forget your circles and forget waiting around. The match ends almost like DMZ with a final extraction. The last helicopter in and everyone converges on it at that point. So your battle royales would be a time limited mode and you would need to do everything around it whilst the city shrinks within that time and make sure you extract. However, only one team can extract. And what kind of makes this sort of idea stand out is that it's not just the Division or the Dark Zones but bigger, it's the systems laid on top that other battle royales couldn't match. Imagine Division 2's build diversity in a battle royale setting. Almost your loadout, you don't just pick up attachments, you can craft these mid-match. Maybe you build a healer with drone support, maybe you stack armor regen and try to outlast fights. Maybe you go full DPS. Again, almost a Dark Zone, but with a shrinking zone. Every choice that you make within that would shape your survival strategy, so you'd be firing back against someone else who has a different build, making gunfights less RNG and more tactical. Now you can add survival mechanics, and Division's survival DLC already nailed this previously. I wouldn't suggest putting every mechanic in there, but certain mechanics could work well with the Battle Royale. Dynamic faction events could add chaos, like I mentioned with the Hunters. One game, a cleaner convoy moves through the map, basically a burning everything in sight. Another, the Hunters drop in and stalk players. Sometimes a boss spawns and it's guarding high tier loot, forcing squads to either cooperate mid-match or fight or avoid. The PvE wouldn't be background noise, it would be a core part of the integration of the Battle Royale. And then on top of that you've got a social layer. You can use the rogue system. In a normal Battle Royale, every enemy is just an enemy. In the Division, trust actually matters. You could include the fact that you could team up with strangers mid-match. If you play in duos, for example, not like DMZ did where you could squad up to 6, but if you were playing a duo mode mid-match, you could team up to a 4. However, they could also betray you mid-match. Maybe you hold your fire at extraction and then you betray them and go rogue, wipe out 3 squads in a chaos and extract. That unpredictability would be the difference maker. Finally, you have the rewards that could exist. You have the extraction-based progression, meaning that even if you don't win, you can still extract cosmetics and blueprints or resources for your next run mid-match. Every match would matter, every story matters, and it would give you that additional adrenaline because of how much is at stake. Every extraction that you do achieve would feel like a victory, even if you don't win the game. So why didn't we ever get this? Why did Ubisoft never pull the trigger even though it was right there? Part of it will probably be down to timing. By the time Battle Royales exploded, Ubisoft was already chasing other trends. Hyperscape was a big swing back in, and when it missed, maybe they got cold feet. The BR market at that point was crowded, Fortnite was almost untouchable, and Warzone was pulling in millions. Ubisoft may have thought there was no room left for them to integrate into the scene. Part of the reason why would be Ubisoft's strategy. They do love chasing trends, but sometimes too late. Hero shooters, battle royales, extraction shooters, they do jump in, but they rarely define the trend. And to make a Division BR work, they would have needed vision and commitment, confidence. Instead, they split the focus and spread it thin, and missed the timing of the shot. And also you got to consider maybe they were afraid of ruining the Division's core audience, afraid of splitting the resources, afraid of building a game that honestly would have required the kind of long-term support and live service care that Ubisoft can struggle with. Again, I know this will be kind of split opinions. Should they have had one, should they not? Again, this video is not down to me say they should have done, it's more down to what could have been if it did. But here's the thing, fans still talk about it, even now. Division Battle Royale we never got is still a dream for some players, and still a nightmare for others. Because when you put it all together, the atmosphere, the survival, the rogue system and the extraction endgame, you don't just get another BR, you get kind of an extraction mix, something unique. BR extraction. It's kind of a weird twist, but I think it would work with the Division. And it could have stood shoulder to shoulder, not as a copy, but as its actually own beast against Apex and Warzone. Because the irony is, the Division was actually ahead of its time when you think about it, and the Dark Zone was a Battle Royale before Battle Royale was popular, almost. It was unpredictable, it was emergent, and it was survival. Ubisoft just didn't see what they had. So now the question is, what if? What if Ubisoft had gone all in? What if we did get the Division Battle Royale that the Dark Zone was kinda hinting at? Would it have been the game to finally dethrone Fortnite and Warzone? Or would it have been another forgotten experiment? We will probably never know. But what we do know is that the Division Battle Royale we never got lives on, at least in our imagination in this video. And sometimes that's still enough just to remind us how special the original Division really was, and how good the Division 2 is now. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Drop a comment down below. What do you think a Division Battle Royale would have looked like? And I'll see you in the next one.